the show where we dive into stories of inspiring people. Today, I'm thrilled to chat with Audra Gordon. She's a Caribbean fashion designer based in Hong Kong. Audra truly believes that reducing fashion's impact on our planet begins at the design stage. So she focuses on customization and creates pieces that are adjustable and timeless to divert textile waste from landfills. So let's go. Audra, welcome. So happy to have you.
Thanks so much. I'm happy to be here, and thanks for everyone for joining live. Thank you.
So you have so incredible story. Can you please start by sharing your story and your journey?
Sure. So I'm from the Caribbean islands. I'm from a small island called St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I grew up in New York, and I'm an expat based in Hong Kong for the last 12 years. So I'm now a fashion designer. I'm the founder of Being Bold, which is a vibrant fashion brand for women and girls of all size and all height. But prior to launching a fashion brand, I had a long career as a banker. So I started off working for banks like Chase Bank back in New York, and HSBC recruited me, and I was with them for about 9 years in New York and also in Hong Kong. I was leading an international team here prior to resigning and pursuing an MBA full time. And that journey has taken me to, internship in Africa and then a travel across Africa by road for 6 months. And that's what led me to launch my sustainable fashion brand, Being Bold. So that's a bit of an overview of my journey so far. But as I mentioned, I'm based in Hong Kong for the last 12 years, and Hong Kong is definitely home for me.
So from banker to fashion designer, it's a journey, right? Why? What inspired you to start Being Bold?
Sure. So I've always loved fashion. My grandmother was a seamstress. So I grew up in the Caribbean. My grandmother sewing clothing for the entire community. She made school uniforms and dresses for different occasions. So I've always loved fashion, but you're told that fashion is not a career. You need to be a lawyer, banker, doctor, choose a serious career path. So this is the lessons we get told at a young age. And I decided to study finance. I did business management and finance in my undergrad, and as I mentioned, started off in banking. But I've always loved fashion. As I travel around the world, I always buy secondhand clothes and redesign them. So I've always had it in my blood. And after taking that career break, I spent 6 months traveling across Africa by road solo. And that's where I met a girl in Ghana, and she was wearing a beautiful yellow dress. And I said to her, I really love your dress. And she said to me, I own nothing black. And I had never heard this before. And I said, what do you mean you own nothing black? And she said, there's nothing black in my wardrobe, not a black shoe, not a black purse, nothing black. And I started saying to her, I really love color, but in banking, I felt like I had to conform to the corporate world. Everything was black or gray or navy. And outside of banking, I was very colorful in all my travel photos. And I just said, someone should create a brand for people who love color. That was just my thought. I didn't know it would be me. And came back to Hong Kong, went into Sham Shui Po, which is the garment district here in Hong Kong. And I met a lady and asked for a contact. And I said, I'm looking to set up a fashion brand. And she gave me a contact in Shenzhen. And I showed up there with a translation app. I don't speak Mandarin at all, but I had the vision of what I wanted to create for Being Bold. And I met a factory owner at the time, Stanley. And he said, where are you from? And I said to him, I'm from the Caribbean. He said, I lived in the Caribbean. I set up a denim factory in Haiti 30 years ago. And Stanley really believed in my idea, and he held my hands, and I started working on Being Bold. That was January 2018, and my launch was November 2018. So it took me, quite a few months to go from concept to, having physical products. And I had a pop-up here in Soho, and that's where I launched the brand Being Bold.
Wow. This is a story like no, I never heard anything like that. You mentioned that you traveled in Africa alone. Why?
So I truly love the African continent. So many of my friends have never been to the continent. As I've mentioned, I've now done 26 countries in Africa. I started traveling in Africa in 2010. My very first trip was Morocco, and in 2012, I traveled across East Africa by road. So started in Kenya, did Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa for New Year's, and then I went back to West Africa. my very first time in West Africa was when I went to Ghana for my internship doing my MBA. And I fell in love with the continent, fell in love with Ghana. So my heart is definitely in Ghana. I love the continent in general, but I particularly love Ghana. And then that summer really helped me really focus on, figuring out where I wanted to go, whether I wanted to go back to banking or, follow my own path. And then shortly after I launched my first business, I was doing a bit of trading between Asia and Africa, just finding suppliers on the ground and finding companies who needed to be connected with suppliers here. So that was my first company that I launched here in Hong Kong. And then a few years later, I just decided to go back and spend some time on the continent and connect with people on the ground who really needed someone here in Asia. And that journey took me across 15 new countries across West Africa. So I traveled by road, started in Ghana, went by road to Benin, came back, went to Cote d'Ivoire, and then circled the entire West Africa. I went down to the south as well during that journey. I did Angola, Namibia, and Botswana. And again, I just fell in love with the continent. And during that journey, that's where I met that girl who owned Nothing Black. And I just thought, why not follow my passion? Why not, give it a go? If it doesn't work, at least I would have tried. So that's what made me, decide to, to give it a go. But I really decided to focus on sustainability because of my, I had a connection in Ghana, and she connected me to someone who was looking to source machinery to handle textile waste in Africa. And again, I knew there was a lot of waste because of fast fashion, but I didn't realize how vast it was and how much it impacted the African continent, despite I saw firsthand, secondhand clothes as I travel across the continent. So the more research I did on textile waste and, all of the clothing that gets sold in bales and end up in a landfill, it really triggered me because, like I said, I stayed with local families every step along the way in Africa, and I felt like I needed to do something about it. So that's why I vowed to design pieces that are made to last so it doesn't go to the landfill. So all of my pieces have extra seam allowance. There's a few extra inches of fabric in the seams so that if you gain or lose weight, you can actually adjust it. And all of the clothing, the skirts have adjustable elastic on the back of the waistband. So a lot of kids' clothing have this, but as you can see, all of the elastic has buttonholes all the way across. So if you gain or lose weight, you can actually just adjust the pieces instead of it being discarded and going to the landfill. So this is the concept that I came up with. How do you design pieces that's made to last, that's adjustable, but most importantly, that's made for someone. So we do a lot of customization based on your height and size so that you have something that's in happy colors that you want to keep for a long time and you're not thinking about discarding it. So that's my goal.
Nice. So when you traveled, you continued to work for banking, right?
Well, I was traveling while working, and after resigning to pursue my MBA, I didn't go back to full-time work. I've taken on some consulting role, but I didn't go back to corporate full-time after my MBA. It's been quite some time. It's been 10 years since I've left corporate, actually. So I've been on my own for quite a bit.
Oh, that's wonderful. So how you balance? I mean, you have a lot on your plate, and as I remember, we discussed our interview for several months. So it's like when you have some time, and I totally get that. But how exactly you balance the travels, the building business? It's fashion. It's hard place to be, right? So can you share a bit your strategy, your frameworks, how it works for you?
Sure. So I'm not traveling as much as I traveled prior to COVID. I think I mentioned I've now been to 76 countries around the world, and most of it is all personal travel. I'm really interested in understanding different culture and just connecting and just exploring the world, So my goal is to continue traveling, but obviously launching the fashion brand, I've been spending a lot of time between mainland China and Hong Kong. For 3 years, I couldn't go back to mainland, so it's only an hour and a half across the border to get to my production. So I'll just go back and forth, to handle quality control and just be there for sourcing, just different aspects of the business. So now, instead of traveling globally, exploring new countries, I was just thinking I haven't been to a new country in a very long time, and I'm hoping to do that by the end of the year. But now I've just been focused on, rebuilding the business. I didn't mention, I got traction really quickly with the brand. Again, a lot of expats wanted larger sizes, a lot of, local wanted shorter length. So again, I spent a lot of time iterating, right? I put out a few products and then got feedback and, spent a lot of time, perfecting the fit and all of that stuff. So again, so the last few years, just going back and forth between Hong Kong and China. I've done 2 trips this year to Singapore. I just got back from Singapore a few days ago, where I was there at Boutiques Fair with 300 brands from across Asia, mostly Singaporean brands, but there are a few brands from across Asia. And Bimbo was selected for Boutiques Fair, and it was a very warm welcome to Singapore. So the last few years, most of my travel has been to Singapore, going there, looking to expand the business into Singapore market. Again, it's warm all year round there. We have quite a bit of customers now in Singapore because we offer free shipping to Singapore. So most of my travels lately has been Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Singapore. So
well, but it counts, this is travels. So it counts. Can you share your daily routine, like how your morning starts?
How does my morning start? It depends. Like today, I had quite a bit of shipments to go out, so I started with that. Again, it depends on what's on my agenda, but I tend to focus certain days. Well, I try to, dedicate a few days a week for a specific task. For example, Mondays I usually have no meetings at all. I try for that to be my strategy day where I, stay in the office, focus on, strategy for the week, finances. So again, just having a day off where I'm not having meetings at all. So Monday is that day for me. Tuesdays I spend a bit of time, working on marketing. Wednesday is my connection day, so I do quite a bit of coffees and lunches. Thursday is content day, so I try to shoot content or just curate content that I have already. And Friday depends on planning for the following week happens on a Friday. But again, just different aspects of the business I focus on. I try to dedicate specific time of the day and week for different tasks. Again, because it was me wearing so many different hats in the business, it was important to have time dedicated to certain tasks to move the business forward.
That's interesting to have like themes for each day. It's nice one. So how you came up with this structure? Is it like you reacted on something, or it was like the best thing? It's like no brainer. I'm gonna do this.
So again, when over the years, I've had a few different interns come in to help me. I now have a full-time sewer, pattern maker in Shenzhen. I have a video editor in Ghana. Who else do I have on my team? So again, for a very long time, it was me by myself wearing every single hat in the business. So it was important for me to create structures just so that I'm just not wheeling out of control, right? So before you know it, you're spending all day, all night working on different aspects of the business, and I needed to set boundaries. For example, Sundays I try not to work, so I have a down day where if I need to have a massage or I just need some downtime for myself, walking at the waterfront, listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, I need some time for myself as well. So I try, unless there's something, really urgent, I try not to work on Sundays, but Saturdays I typically work because again, you have a startup and you need to spend time to really scale it. But I just thought, I need to create structures to be able to put structures in place to be able to, stay focused and be able to move the business forward.
Do you miss this structured and probably simpler life of banking?
The funny thing is, many people leave careers they hate it, but I actually didn't hate my job. I truly enjoy it because, I was a relationship manager for many years and I truly, truly love people. My last role was a sales and service manager in the head office at HSBC. And again, there was a lot of client interaction. I really loved connecting. And so I didn't hate my job. So if I need to go back, I can go back at any time. But now I found something I'm truly passionate about. And, so giving up on being bold is never an option, even if I have to do it part-time and, take take on other roles, just to be able to stabilize myself or, to get enough cash flow. But giving up on being bold is never an option because I'm truly passionate about what I do. When I meet women and girls who can never find their size, never find their length, the joy that it brings me, giving up is never an option. So I don't know if I've mentioned to you, I had a tremendous loss during COVID. And, so even with that, I got traction quickly, went to New York for Fashion Week, had a runway show in Ghana in 2019. So again, the brand was well received, from inception. But then I faced some, challenges where in 2020, when COVID started, the borders between Hong Kong and China closed, and I couldn't go back for 3 years. We couldn't go back to China, and I had just used a new factory right before traveling, and they stole all of my fabric. 500 meters of fabric was all gone, like everything, So it was a very challenging year for me. Like, I literally had to rent out my bedrooms, just trying to figure out how do I have enough cash flow to keep the business alive. And, so I have clients who reach out to me. One lady, she wrote to me saying, "Oh, my husband lost his job. We're moving back to Italy, but can I have a matching rainbow skirt for my daughter before I go?" So these are customers that make me know that giving up is never an option. I had to find a way, to restart the business again from not having any fabric at all but I was very transparent with the clients. I sent emails once the orders came in, and I was very transparent, letting them know. Luckily I had two rolls, one roll of the watercolor, one roll of the floral fabric, but no solid colors at all. And clients were willing to wait for me to have enough fabric in stock to be able to start producing again. So I'm very grateful, and I managed in 2020 to relaunch the business despite the challenges that I was facing.
Wow. I just wanted to ask you about your hardships, because everyone I know, every entrepreneur had this pivoting moments, and it's very hard to jump back, get up, to stay resilient. It's so hard. And what you mentioned is wonderful. Like, you've been open with your clients, like you shared the situation. You were not like, I'm gonna be bright and beautiful all the time. It's so essential because people buying from people. And that moment that you said, I truly love people, this, we can feel it. We can feel it. So it's wonderful. And I think that's a big part of anyone's success. Like, don't be shy to share your situation. If you had some hardships, you need to share it. It's fine. And it's wonderful. So I wanted to ask you why you chose Hong Kong as a like the base.
So Hong Kong, as I mentioned, I never imagined moving to Hong Kong. As I started traveling, I knew I wanted to have an international career. I thought London would be a great move. Again, I thought there's no language barrier. I was at HSBC at the time. Our headquarters was in London, and I thought it would be a great move. And I connected with a guy on LinkedIn. He had added me on LinkedIn. I had never met him before, and I sent him a message. I read through his profile. I saw he was in Tokyo for a couple of years. He was in Hong Kong, and we had also gone through the same management training program. And he's a Black American living in Hong Kong. So again, this is why representation matters, because again, when you see someone who looks like you in Asia, and it really inspired me to reach out. So I just sent him a note, and he responded saying, "I'm in New York for 2 weeks, let's meet up." And we didn't have a chance to meet in person. I had a wedding in DC. He had to see his kids, and we didn't have a chance to meet in person, but we chatted on the phone. And all the preconceived notions you have about language and culture, he really, shared with me, everyone speak English, you'll be fine. Because at that point, I had already traveled quite a bit of Africa, a bit of South America, a bit of Europe, but never ever Asia. I'd never been to Asia before. And after my conversation with him, it really inspired me. And I went online, I saw a role to manage the international team in the head office. And I applied for the role. I had one phone interview, and they offered me the job to move to Hong Kong. So like I said, at that point, I had never ever been to Asia, but I knew from day one that Hong Kong would be home. And like I said, 12 years later, I still love Hong Kong. I've met so many amazing people from all around the world, and everyone is always able to help you. And so whatever challenges you're facing, someone in Hong Kong knows someone who they will connect you to, and to help you overcome any challenge. So I really still love the city. I love the weather here. As I hate winters. This is one of the reasons why I haven't moved back to the the US. I'm from the island, so I love, sunshine. And like I said, winters are quite mild in Hong Kong, so I still love it here, and I love camping. I love going to the beaches. I'll go to Sai Kung and go camping at the beach. And there's so much to do here, like hiking. It's very convenient. So yeah, Hong Kong is home for me, and especially now production is done in Shenzhen. All of my production now is done in house. So prior, I was using sample rooms to do production because I do a lot of customization based on customers' height and size. So within two to 3 weeks, we produce your perfect size, perfect length. So because of that, I don't use larger factories. So now I have a small sample room in Shenzhen, where I've hired sewers to work for me full time. So Hong Kong is just very convenient. So if I was somewhere else in the world, it just wouldn't work. And China has really skilled workers, who are willing and able, and they're able to help me, maintain the standards that I have, in terms of workmanship and all of my seams, the front seams, and all of the things that are very important to me. I'm able to get that done in China. So Hong Kong is a great place to be, and still a great place of business. Like I said, I have a US entity and a Hong Kong entity, but Hong Kong is home. I have no plans on leaving. And my heart is here.
Sounds incredible. You mentioned that you had Sunday as a free day, right? So in terms of your wellness, what exactly you do to balance yourself within a week? Right. Even because one day a week it's hard. I mean, it can be easily went to burnout. And so what you do?
Sure, I try to balance. Like I said, right now I think I'm much more balanced than I have been in the past. Where, like I said, Sundays I try not to work unless there's something really urgent that I need to attend to. But Sundays I will connect with friends. I will have brunch, have lots of conversation. I'm always sending someone a Zoom link. So wherever you are in the world, everyone says to me, you always keep in touch with everyone. I will just reach out to people who I haven't spoken to in a while. Many people say, "Oh, is everything okay? Do you need something?" But no, I just want to connect and know that everything is okay with you, and what challenges you're facing. Do I have anyone in my network I can connect you to? So Sundays is that day where I have calls with my friends in the US or in Europe or in Africa, and just connect. And I have massages, so sometimes I book a massage here in Central, and there are great places here to have, whether it's a foot massage or just a full body massage. I really love massages. But camping is one of the things I do in my downtime. I really love camping. I invested in camping gear, and I just love, the outdoors, and Hong Kong has a whole lot of that. So yeah, and I try to be a tourist in my city. Like I said, I haven't traveled as much globally, internationally for the last few years, but I've been, trying to explore new places in Hong Kong I haven't been to. Obviously, I've been here 12 years, but there's a lot still to see in Hong Kong. So I try to explore and, just, work on personal development. So that's another area I love to read and listen to podcasts and just different ways of educating myself. So yeah, so that's the day that I dedicate for that.
When you travel, how you stay balanced? Because for me, travel it's like a bit hectic thing because delays and everything connected to it. So how you this added stress, how it works for you because you travel so much, you've been in so many countries. How are you doing this?
I think travel it's not as stressful for me anymore. I think that as you travel more and more, you develop routines, right? And I look forward to, I'm excited to explore a new place. I'm excited to connect with people in those cities. Like, for example, this trip, I was in Singapore for 12 days, and there were so many people I meant to connect with and have lunches and coffees, but it was just very busy. It was full on at the fair the entire time. But again, I will, look at people who's in my network in those cities. Even before I moved to Hong Kong, while I was in New York, like I said, I was a relationship manager for many years, and I had clients all around the world. I was working for a bank that was in 86 countries at the time, and clients, even the ones who I hadn't met in person, I would reach out saying, I'm coming to your city. I spent a month in South America, prior to moving to Hong Kong, and I went to Argentina. One of my clients had set up a tango school there. I had never met him before, but he took me around, and again, you get to experience a country from a local perspective, right? And the same with Africa. Like, I spent a lot of time staying with local families every step along the way. I just reach out. I went through Facebook. At the time, you were able to search by country, and I see what connections do I have been to a country, and I have friends of friends who say, oh, my mom is there, my aunt is here, you should stay with my family. And every step along the way, people are willing to host me, and I'm the same. I'm always willing to host random people I've met from around the world. I always encourage them to come to Hong Kong, and I'm happy to host. So yeah, I really enjoy it. So I don't become stressed about travel at all. I'm very excited. Like I said, I have my routine in terms of flying and like your documents and all that stuff, because I've done it so much.
Oh, can you share this? Can you share your tips and tricks?
Tips and tricks. Tips and tricks. Now it's like autopilot now, in terms of making sure you have your travel document. I have 2 passports, so it makes it easier for me. So I pick and choose what passport to use. Again, I was born in the Caribbean. I'm a U.S. citizen, but I also have a St. Vincent passport. So especially when I traveled in Africa, a lot of countries I didn't need a visa. It wasn't required for my St. Vincent passport, or it was a reduced cost, right? When I went to Nigeria, it was 60 US dollars for, was it a 60, 160 for US visa, but my Caribbean passport was $20. So again, you do research on, what passport to use to avoid visa or reduce your costs. And, you just make sure you have enough pages in your passport. That was one of the issues a friend of mine had recently, where she couldn't get a visa because there wasn't enough pages in the passport. So again, you just become aware of, expiration dates, and, making sure you have enough pages, and, all the visa requirements. I'm applying now for the APEC card because I'm PR in Hong Kong, so I can travel to a few countries, around the region, where I can, have expedited access, through immigration and all that stuff. So again, you just research what's available to you based on your passport, based on your location, and the fact that you're a permanent resident, and you just take advantage of all of the benefits of being there. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Researching and just being prepared and showing up and being excited to explore,
So just be prepared, and everything is going to be fine. Yeah. Okay. Can you share a bit about like your goals, and how you work on your goals? Do you have some framework for that? Like, do you have a big goal? And if you can share, please. So everything around goals, big and small.
Sure. So as I mentioned, Being Bold has gotten quite a bit of traction in Singapore. I've done a pop-up in the spring there. I recently had a pop-up where, it was very overwhelming, where the brand was so well received there in Singapore. So my goal, I'm actually now looking at, multi-brand shops to, stock the brand there. And, my vision eventually is to be able to scale up the brand globally, right? Finding stockers in the US, in Europe. Australia is a market that I'm definitely looking to get into next. Obviously, it's Southern Hemisphere, so when it's winter for us, it's summer there. And, I think, places, like, Melbourne, or, even at the coast will be ideal, because I have such colorful, flowy pieces. I think that will work well, because we provide colorful pieces all year round, and it's always flowy resort wear. So just finding the market where you have resort places where I can stock the brand globally, and just looking to collaborate with artists. So one of the issues that I have is that I do only digital printing on all of my fabrics. So I'm looking to collaborate with different artists globally, where they can create images that global prints, but that transcends globally, but it's all bright colors and bold prints, and has the brand colors in them. So that's one of the areas I'm actually exploring at the moment, collaborating with artists to be able to design more prints for the fabrics.
What is your big goal?
My big goal, I will. The goal is to set up a retail shop in Hong Kong. I think first we start with a showroom, and then have a retail outlet, and then getting into larger retail globally. So larger retail in the U.S., in Europe, and for the brand to become a global name. So whether for again, my ideal customer is a woman who faced challenges finding their size, and girl moms because we have the mommy and me. So those areas where our target market is hanging out, we're just finding places where we can actually scale the brand and getting to the market globally. So that's the goal for me to be able for being bold to be a household name.
Wow. Uh, but the big goal is, about SMART goals, right? So it should be achievable, of course.
Yeah.
But when you plan to do that, do you have this roadmap to your success and how you plan that?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, like I said, I'm strategizing, on the way forward now. Like I said, I've taken a step back since the Singapore trip and working on a plan, to be able to scale up the business. So it's taking small steps to be able to scale. But again, hiring staff is another area because again, I've been handling just about every aspect of the business, and scaling up the business with just one full-time employee is not feasible.
Um,
So, creating a plan for staff is, what I'm working on at the moment, but also production. Now, especially now, we've had an influx of orders, right? And normally our brand promise is 2 to 3 weeks, but Singapore, we've received quite a bit of orders. I think 3 times our target in terms of orders from boutique fairs. So now we're hiring part-time sewers, but building out a factory that focus on customization is my short term, medium term goal to be able to keep up with the demands because it's a good problem to have that we have way too many orders and not enough hands to sew them as quickly as possible. So working out logistics and production where we have a bit more capacity as our orders increase. That's the area that I'm focused on at the moment. So
mhm. Wow. Do you use some tech application, something that help you to perform at your best?
yeah, well, in terms of tech, I would say for my business, we do digital paper patterns, so that allows us to be able to adjust the size and the length of our pieces. Because again, once the orders come in, I confirm every single order with the client to make sure. Because again, some clients, because there's no consistency across the brand, someone may order a size medium, but actually a large or an extra small in my brand, right? So again, I confirm the measurements with every single client just to make sure that we're not producing a piece where we have to accept returns or exchanges. So again, if we're able to eliminate the waste from the beginning, we use digital paper patterns, and once we confirm the customer's measurements, their size, their length, then we use that digital paper pattern to adjust the sizes, and then we print the paper pattern and then cut and sew. So this is a digital aspect. Had we not had digital paper pattern, it would not have been possible to continue customizing so many different sizes and lengths, because all of our pieces are available in petite, short, regular, and tall based on the height of the woman. So having that digital paper pattern definitely allows us to adjust up and down based on the size, but also on the length as well. So that's one aspect. And like I mentioned, the digital printing. So instead of doing printing, digital printing is less water and energy waste. So also, if there are any errors on the print, it's easier because we can just print a small panel and we can see whether or not the pattern is correct. And if it's not, then we'll be able to do some adjustment on the computer and then reprint the fabric. So that's one of the ways of reducing waste as well. But using the digital printing definitely eliminate a lot of the energy and fabric waste as well.
What about your personal life? Do you use some tech?
My tech. Well, in terms of organizing, like I use well, lots of apps. Obviously, I'm on all of the social media apps. So tech in terms of organizing content, scheduling posts and stuff like that. So again, there's so many different apps that I'm using just to stay organized. Actually, Google Drive is really good for me because I organize a lot of the files, my finances, between the U.S., Hong Kong entities, and just keeping everything organized. So I find Google helps me a lot stay organized, where I can share files and documents with my interns and other staff members, and we're able to share files and especially like my video editor, I'm able to upload any photos or video where I'm doing shoots here, and then he can then go through and select the best frames and then be able to create content for us. So yeah, so there's so many different, like I said, apps that I'm using, but it depends on what area of the business, but different apps for different purpose.
If we're gonna talk about something you cannot live without, what it will be?
I think my phone. Like I said, I'm a natural connector. I try to put my phone on airplane mode a lot, especially when like this morning, I had quite a bit of orders. The first batch of orders for Singapore came in last night, so I had to get those out. So this morning, my WhatsApp just kept going off. Everyone kept saying to me, "How do you have so many WhatsApp messages?" Everyone said to me, "Everyone have your number. This is why your WhatsApp is always on red." But my phone, because it allows me to connect on WeChat. If I have an urgent message, a client wrote to me saying, "Oh, we have an event in 2 days. Can you expedite my production?" So again, I now need to contact my sewers and let them know, can we move this order ahead of the other production? So again, between WeChat, WhatsApp, I just need my phone to function. So I definitely try to always have a power bank because my phone is always on, but I try to put it on airplane mode to be able to focus when I have tasks that are urgent. So yeah, so my phone.
Well, you probably need backup phone like all the way, because sometimes they stop working. So just in case. Okay. Do you have some advice? Probably someone watching us and thinking about changing career path. And I know you have this method about changing path. So can you share a bit about it?
Sure. So I've come up with a love method to inspire people to do what they love. And love is an acronym. So again, I always say I lead with love with everything that I do. And so if you have an idea of something you would like to start, you start with your network. So L means leverage your network. So the people around you, your friends of friends, family of friends, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's someone in the industry who've done something similar. Just have these conversations so they can help you reduce the amount of steps to get from point A to point B. So you start with your network. So L means leverage your network. Always overcome the fear. Too many people are too afraid to get started, or other people project their fear onto you, and you just never get started. So you have to overcome that fear to get started. V is validate the idea, which is starting small. I literally launched my brand with 5 items and iterated, right? So again, do you have a viable product that people actually want, right? And then E is expand through partnership. How do you create strategic partnership where we both can benefit and we can work together and we can scale and both benefit and grow together? So I always say, do what you love, but do it with love. So this is my 4-step method to inspire people to find something you're truly passionate about and do it with love.
Wow, this is wonderful. This is a best framework that I've heard about in terms of like changing careers. And I know that because of crisis, because of layoffs, some people starting to change their careers and their lives, starting startups, starting their own businesses. And it's scary. It's crazy scary. It's hard. And sometimes stories like yours, they are inspiring. And yeah, of course, it's going to be hard. It's going to be terrifying because, as you mentioned, you have this some sort of pivot, right? So COVID plus people can just stop buying from you. And
Right.
you need to be prepared mentally for this. So, and always ask for, like, don't be afraid for iterations. I
Yes.
suppose this is part of your journey when you have some iterations. There was a moment when you feel like, yeah, I'm finally at the moment when I can scale. How long ago it was?
Well, like I said, with a startup, you never know. And again, especially seasonal, I didn't go back to, corporate after my MBA. I put all my savings into, the fashion brand. And especially the startup cost of, a fashion brand where you have so many different colors and prints, you have to invest every time you order a fabric. I have to order 7 rolls of fabric every order. So again, there's a huge, cash, intense, mission to be able to get the brand off the ground. So again, without cash flow coming in, especially 2020, where I had no fabric, I'm not able to, generate any revenue at all. It was very scary. And like I said, so many people said to me, you have an MBA, find a job, go back to banking. So again, I can't go back to banking. I've said it over and over again. I've never hated my job. I just found something I'm more passionate about. And again, finding your purpose, finding something that truly moves you to get up every day and keep going. This is very important. I read this book by The Big Leap, and it talks about finding that area where it's your area of genius, right? Where it doesn't feel like work. So for me, I kept getting reprimanded by my team in Singapore because they kept saying, go measure someone, go, their clients who need help. And I'm here chatting with people. I truly enjoy when I have pop-ups and I'm able to connect with clients and understand their pain point that they're facing, whether they're tall or they're curvy and they can never find their size. Just being able to solve that, it really brings me joy. So I know, regardless to whether I don't have the cash flow to to scale it as quickly as I would like, I will take a step back. And even if I have to take on, part-time roles to be able to give me enough cash flow to keep the business alive, I'm committed to that because I found something I'm truly passionate about. Like I said, it's allowed me to connect all the things that I love. My love for my Caribbean heritage, my love for travel, my love for fashion, my love for the African continent, and my love for connecting with people. So I'm able to incorporate all of those things that I enjoy into being bold. And, I'm very grateful that I found something that I'm passionate about, and I'm hoping that everyone can pursue something, figure out those areas where you just truly enjoy it and find a way how to make a living from it. Right? So that's what I wish for everyone.
Wow, thank you so much. Can you share some podcasts? You mentioned that you love to listen to podcasts, or some books that you enjoy reading.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I really love Stretch. Stretch was a book, I think by Scott Sunshine, that I really like because I find I've always had a stretch mindset, where, you find different ways of how do you use what you have and use that thing that's meant for something else, but you're able to use it in different ways, right? So it's like I've always had a stretch mindset. How do you use what's in your capacity now, like what tools do you have, and be able to use that and in a different capacity. So this is what I love, that book called Stretch. The Big Leap is one of them that I mentioned that I quite like as well, because it talks about your area of genius, for me, areas of incompetent. Like I will find my interns and said, okay, I need help organizing Excel. So again, put me in front of clients, put me in front of people where I'm able to connect. Like I thrive there. So I know initially, I don't know if I mentioned, I started off as an accounting major. I'll be bored. I don't enjoy this, right? Even that area, right? Like I found an accountant that can help me with my accounting, right? So she always recommends me, saying, hey, I need the documents, I need this, I need that. But again, you find those areas that you enjoy and you focus on that. And then you delegate the areas that you don't enjoy and find people who have those skill set, and you're able to, to delegate those tasks and focus on those areas you love. So that's why I really love that book a lot.
What about podcasts?
Podcast. So One of them I listened a lot, which I haven't listened in a while lately, was Better with Paul. I used to love listening to his podcast. And there's Patrice Washington has a really good podcast that I love as well. What else? Yeah, lately I haven't listened to a lot of podcasts. I was doing a lot more during the pandemic, but now I'm doing more audiobooks and now just focus on scaling up the business. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Probably you have some advice, more advice, or something to add for our listeners and people who watch us.
Yeah, so my advice is to explore more. I'm very grateful that I was curious to see the world, and it definitely opened my eyes and afford me to be able to live in many different places. As I mentioned, I was in the Caribbean, lived in New York, Asia. I exchanged at London Business School, so I was in London for half a year. Again, my love for Africa, I've been there for a while, so I just wish that more people will spend time, exploring different cultures so they can understand, different perspective. And, just someone wrote to me and said to me, I was writing quite a bit on my blog and I haven't written in a while. And someone wrote to me from, I think he was in Malawi, and he said to me, because of your blog, I took a bus because I was encouraging at that time when I was traveling throughout Africa. I had literally just graduated, and I went by road, and obviously traveling across Africa by road seems to be more accessible, right? It's very difficult in terms of flying between the continents. So I took buses, I took taxis, a motorbike with my suitcase on the back, just to explore new countries, right? So I wrote about that journey, and someone wrote to me saying, because of you, I took a bus and I went to the neighboring country. I had never left my country before. And again, I want that for people to be able to, see a different world outside of your community so that you can better understand different cultures and you can connect. So I just want more people to explore. Again, I know not everyone have the means to be able to, pick up and book a flight to another country, but maybe go to the neighboring town, or just explore and just put yourself out there to connect and learn from people who are from different cultures. That's one of the things I'm grateful I had the opportunity to live in so many places, but I wish that for everyone, that you're able to explore and open your mindset, open your mind to new experiences, and yeah, just see the world, right? That's
Wow, you're so inspiring, and like, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for sharing. And I really appreciate that you found the time for me, for our audience. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
everyone. Thank you for watching and have a great day. See you next week.